Welcome to another edition of Ask an Oiler. This is a very festive Ask an Oiler. Darcy Hordichuk's our guest today, and Darcy, that's a nice hat, first of all.
Well, we thought it's Christmas time, rock the Christmas spirit here, and try to cheer up the guys around the locker room here. So.
Excellent. Okay, now we're going to do some fan questions. This segment is kind of a rapid fire. Fans invited to ask you a plethora of questions. So you ready to take on what the fans have to offer?
Definitely.
All right, let's do it. First question comes from Justin Carriere in Kitchener. Darcy, do you enjoy fighting, or do you feel like it's something you have to do, especially to stick up for the smaller players on the team?
Well, I don't think it's something you have to do. Obviously, when you're at this level, there's a piece. You're like a piece of the puzzle that fits in, and it's important to let your teammates know that you're kind of there for them. And earlier on in my career, I think I was a little bit more nervous. Anytime you're 19, 20 years old, and you got to fight a guy like Probert or Ty Domi, somebody kind of looked up to and kind of dreamed of maybe playing against someday. There's a little bit more nerves, but now I feel like I'm a veteran in the league, and you train hard in the summertime so that you don't have those nerves, and that you're confident that when you do step on the ice and the gloves have to be dropped, that you knew everything that you've put in the summertime is going to pay off, and so far it has.
Is there more to the enforcer role than just the fighting aspect itself? Because you see some clips, and I kind of see when we watch you play, you kind of you give a convenient shoulder to a guy, after a scrum or something like that, or you kind of give a look to someone, or you just shoot them a little comment. Is that part of the role itself?
Well, definitely. I know that sometimes the coaching staff says you don't have to fight this guy or you don't have to go after this guy, but it's all part of your role and kind of that stigma that goes along with you being an enforcer. You kind of want to calm down the other team, and you got to kind of keep yourself sharp so that when other teams come in the building, that they know that you're going to respond to them, and that you're always willing to fight. And the day that you maybe stop fighting and maybe getting beat up a little bit, then the less respect the other team shows towards your players. So it's one of those things where I think that I've done my job and my role for a long time, so guys on the other team know that if they're going to run around and cheap shot guys, as long as I'm on the bench, that somehow I'm either going to come after their skilled players or I'm going to come after them. So it's more about holding guys accountable, and sometimes it doesn't always work, but it's a long season, and eventually it'll pay off.
That's good to know. Okay, Kirby asks, who is the toughest player you have ever fought?
Well, toughest player, back in the day, it was, you'd always fight guys like, Proby, who I think was a legend in the league. A guy like Sandy McCarty, Chris Simon were tough. And then you get to this era where you fight guys like Derek Bugard, just purely size. You fight guys like that, basically any punch could end your career. And I think that, when you're 6 feet tall, 215 pounds, and you're dropping the gloves with guys like that, you have to respect those guys, and you have to get in quick, and you have to basically throw everything you got at them and hope that one of them hits. And if it doesn't, it could be lights out for you.
We've seen that with a lot of fights, obviously. Now, here's kind of the flip side of the whole enforcer role, because Andreas from Surahammar, Sweden, wants to know, how is the relationship between you and other enforcers when you guys are off ice? Do you guys keep the heat up in between each other, or do you leave the game on the ice?
Yeah, I think people don't realize that actually a lot of the guys that we maybe drop the gloves with, you definitely respect them. I don't think there's a lot of relationship there. Some of the guys over the years you've got to know at kind of charity events, but I don't think people realize, since you've been maybe 14, 15 years old, that you grew up fighting these guys to make it to the NHL. Perfect example, you get a guy like Derek Bugard, Eric Goddard, Todd Fedoruk, Scott Parker. These are all guys, when you came up the ranks, you had to fight. Right. And then, so you end up fighting for 10, 15 years. And, it kind of calms the game down when you fight maybe the other team's enforcer. And it doesn't always start out you going after their enforcer. It maybe starts out by you going after one of their skilled guys. And then, the enforcer hops on the ice and basically is protecting his guy, letting you know that you can't go after their guys. So it's kind of a chess match, and there's a little bit more to it than meets the eye. But, you always respect guys, and you don't want anybody to get hurt, but at the end of the day, if you don't do your job, somebody else is going to do it for you. So
there is that mutual respect off the ice as well, then?
With certain guys.
With certain guys.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. William Rowe from Airdrie asks, what would you say is your favorite part of living in Alberta? And this is, keep in mind, you're a Saskatchewan guy.
Yes. You know what? I think there's so many things that have been great. I've been in the States for the last 11 years and got a chance to come to Vancouver for a little bit, but you know, anytime you grow up in Saskatchewan, you kind of miss the snow and the four seasons and just the friendly people. So we're living in Sherwood Park right now, and it's just been a great opportunity to let my 2.5-year-old son experience what I kind of grew up with. And every day he wants to go play hockey on the road and on the street, and they built a little rink down the road. So now we're bringing up kind of a lot of memories that I had as a kid, and you know, it's been just fun to see the snow fall and be able to build Frosty the Snowman and all these wonderful things that you couldn't do in places like Arizona and Florida.
Yeah. Now you bring up your son, who was featured on Oil Change, and he kind of stole the show in the segment he was in. Shauna from St. Albert asks and says that your son stole the show in that segment, but she says, is it strange having camera crews following you guys around all the time?
I think maybe earlier in your career it's strange a little bit, but you know, I think you kind of get used to it, just like anything. It's strange that you realize how many people are actually watching the show and are commenting on it, because at the time it just feels like, you know, it's a little bit more personal, just you and the camera crews, and then you realize that all your family gets to see it and your friends, and that's kind of what we did it for, so that you know, in 20 years when I can say I used to play in the NHL, that my son blazed me when we can pull out some of this old video. So it's all about memories, this game, and there's been a lot of great ones in Edmonton so far.
Okay, one last question. This is about your game day routine. It comes from Chad. He says, hey Darcy, as a role player on a young team, do you have any game day preparations that set you apart from the other guys in the room? So what's your kind of way of going about it?
Well, usually, obviously, we skate in the morning, so we'll come on the ice, and you know, depending on which team we play, I kind of look through the team, and by now you kind of know who's willing to drop the gloves in the other team. So I've got a little bit different preparation when it comes to that. Just kind of going through the roster, who the potential guys are, maybe who they called up that day. If things were to go sideways, you know, who would be willing to drop the gloves. And a lot of times there's some young kids you don't, you know, really know too much about. So then you go on the computer, you do a little bit of homework on you know, whether the person throws rights or lefts, or you know, who you're going to be kind of coming up against in the fourth line. Does he run around a lot? Is he going to be doing some cheap shots? You know, and you kind of assess their team, and then you take your nap. You do a little visualization of you know, you getting the better upper hand in the fight, and go back to the bench, get a little pat from the teammates, and get ready to do it next shift.
Now, you're a guy that we see in the morning at the morning skate, always willing to chat, but once you get past the morning skate, are you a guy that kind of leave me into my zone and just don't?
You know what? I'm actually just a guy that loves to have fun. You know, I never try to take anything too serious, and you know, it's a long season, and you know, you see some of the younger kids coming in here, and I think Nugent Hopkins has just done a great job. You never let the highs get too high and the lows get too low, and I think that can apply to a lot of us in life. And you know, you just got to be even keeled, and you just go out there and you do your job. And up until I step on the ice, you know, I like to keep the guys loose in the locker room and have a little bit of fun. And but you know, when you win the game, it definitely takes care of having fun.
Darcy, happy holidays. Thank you very much for your time and your insight. Certainly appreciate it.
No, thank you for letting me be here, and happy holidays to everybody watching back home.
Happy holidays to the fans. Thank you for joining us for another Ask an Oiler presented by Ford.